This is a diary entry. Okay, as I record this video, it's been a couple days since the Uvalde shooting in Texas, where I currently am, like where my parents live and stuff. And there have been some takes. There have been a number of takes. I have not liked the takes, but there was one take I read this morning, the 26th, that just kind of like really made me angry and like it's funny that I said angry because we'll talk about that later. But it's just, I'm going to read it. It's like, we don't have female mass shooters in this country. This isn't just a guns problem, it's a men problem. And I first want to say that I do agree that there's an issue with the idea of the patriarchy in this country and that there is historically a monopoly of violence from men against women. I do believe that. But this tweet isn't saying that. This tweet is saying that this is a men problem, period. Well, it's also saying a gun problem, but it's labeling this as a men's problem. And I have thoughts about that because I don't think this I don't think the style of thinking really helps anyone. And so therefore my points in this video are thus. One, to try to ascribe a issue to try to describe a political point as solely masculine or feminine is gender essentialism. Two, gender essentialism is not going to aid you in your political viewpoint, in your political movement, in your political revolution. And three, you will even hurt people through your gender essentialism. Mostly, you will hurt other minorities. And more pointedly, you will hurt black and brown people. Cool, cool, cool. So let's begin. First off, hi, my name is Mercury. I exist. Um, yeah, I exist. So, why do I not like this tweet? I don't like this tweet for a number of reasons. I don't like how this tweet immediately ascribes the issue to a gender binary. I don't think that makes any sense. I think it would make sense if we talked about the violence of the patriarchy, like the violence that this white Christian patriarchy has against literally anyone else. That's fair to talk about. We can talk about that. But to immediately ascribe to a men problem wholesale, that's dangerous to me. And it's dangerous to me because of gender essentialism. Now, some of you may be asking, oh, well, what's gender essentialism? And gender essentialism is the belief that a person, thing, or particular trait is inherently or permanently male and masculine or female and feminine. Healthline.com says, in other words, it considers biological sex the primary factor in determining gender. However, I would also go far as to say that in labeling someone or something as masculine or feminine, it also tries to ascribe traits onto that thing. And I would even go so far as to say that people who use gender essentialism tend to assign negative traits to masculinity and positive traits to femininity. And I don't say this to be like, oh, feminism is bad, men's rights need to be more active. I'm saying this in the sense of I get called aggressive simply for existing. And I can't tell if I'm being called aggressive because I'm being read as masculine or if I'm being called aggressive because I'm being seen as black. And it's a very weird thing because a lot of people, and I'm saying people, I mean a lot of white people, don't understand that their idea of gender has been used to oppress everyone else. Everyone else. Like, for me as a black person, it has been used against black people in such a way that we are all seen as masculine because of how slaves were treated during chattel slavery in the US. We are all seen as masculine. We are all seen as aggressive. We are all seen as muscular and dangerous. We are all masculinized. That's why even though Serena Williams is like so much shorter than whoever like that white Russian lady she keeps on beating in tennises, the papers are always being like, oh well she's masculine, or oh maybe she needs to get checked for like drugs and stuff because we don't know if she has like too much testosterone. That's why Caster Semenya is considered a man in some events and a woman in other events. Like, come on. Come on, it's a whole scale masculinization. Same thing happens to brown people, by the way. A lot of brown men get demonized, so much so that I remember seeing that tweet talking about healthcare and women's safety in Saudi Arabia, and a lot of white women are like, we should just castrate men, as if that's not literal eugenics. As if that's not racist to be like, oh, we see an issue in the world. Let us insert our narrow-minded view and like say, oh, well, let's harm these men because these men are bad. And these men are a specific group of men. Like, do you not see the painful thing of like gender essentialism being used for racism there? And it also goes even further, I would argue, into the feminization. I swear I'm gonna get words right. The feminization of Asian men. And I'm gonna be very like touchy feely here because I don't want the K-pop fans to come after me. But some of y'all be talking very weird about them. Some of y'all be talking very weird about them Korean men. Some of y'all be talking very weird about Japanese men. Some of y'all be talking very weird about East East Asian men. Some of y'all be talking quite weird, and it's the gender essentialism that goes into it. You read East Asian men as feminine, therefore you read them as everything you believe feminine to be. Which we can talk about what is and is not masculine and feminine. That's not the point. The point is we should not be using these terms in like political discussion, because to use these terms in political discussion is to ignore the fact that there is a white lens on these terms, and that these terms aren't going to help you get anything done to begin with, because you're going to be so focused on removing one symptom of the aspect instead of removing the system that causes like the pain and stuff. And I think that that's happening in this tweet that I mentioned earlier about the we don't have female mass shooters. Um, I believe that this tweet isn't actually going to help anyone focus on the real issues of like gun control and gun safety. And this is coming from someone in Texas who knows like gun safety. No, like not many people actually know gun safety, and like not many people follow those rules. Like, if I asked you, hey, name one rule of gun safety right now. Just name one. You don't have to do anything else. Could you do it? No. If I were to tell you like, hey, name some gun control laws that Texas has, could you do it? No. That's because Texas doesn't have any. That's an issue that you should focus on. We should focus on, making sure the guns are safe and like the guns are controlled. Maybe that's what we should be focused on instead of trying to fit it into like this weird gender binary. And I will go ahead and point out that the tweet about the this is a men's problem does come from a white woman. I do want to interrogate that because white women, I find, try to do this so often. White women live by gender essentialism, and I think it's baked into the white patriarchal state because white women know that in this state, anything seen as feminine is to be protected. And so they want to like lean on that protection, but what they don't understand is that that protection is twofold and both protects them and harms anyone else who's not white. Like straight up, any non-white person seeing a white woman trying to like gain this protection and use it in activism is immediately like walking away because we know that that protection isn't going to come for us. In fact, that protection is going to harm us. And I say this because when we were talking, because very recently, well, not so recent now, not as recent as this, but when the Roe v. Wade document came out, I saw a lot of women, and I saw a lot of white women mostly, being like, "Oh, no uterus, no opinion." First off, that's very cis heteronormative. a lot of trans men wanted to talk about this because it's a reproductive and healthcare right. I feel like the healthcare right should have been should have been like the most obvious one to go here. The reproductive right should have been the obvious to go here, but it also ignores the fact that there are a lot of men who do support uh, you know adding to protecting reproductive and healthcare rights, and protecting the right to an abortion and protecting the right to keep your medical knowledge private. And there are a lot of women who, the women have uteruses and are fighting against that. Like, they're fighting to remove reproductive health care rights. So it's like, you're saying no uterus, no opinion. These people have uteruses, and their opinion is to fuck you over with yours. That's not a men problem. That's a reproductive issue. And by you gender essentializing it, you're not focusing all of your attention to the actual issue. You're focusing your attention to something that you think is going to work for you, but it's not going to, because it's not going to protect you. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of people need to understand, that gender essentialism is not a good way to do any sort of activism, because it's not ever going to focus on the issue. It's going to put it in a binary, and you're going to be stuck on that binary forever and ever. And then you kind of just lose. Like, if you ever find yourself being like, this is a man issue, this is a female issue, this is a woman issue, this is a male issue, you're gonna lose something. You're losing something in it, and that something you're losing is gonna be very important, because you're losing the plot of the movie. Like, I don't get it. But yeah, this is a history lesson. No, wait, sorry. This is a diary entry. The history lesson is going to come later. Uh, this is a diary entry on why I despise this tweet, why I think that gender essentialism is not going to save anyone, and why I feel like we should move away from gender essentialism. Because, I think it's a bad way to. First of all, I think it's a bad way to just like interact with people. I think it's a bad way to try to come up with political takes. I think it's a bad way to try to start and keep political movements running. If you are trying to do a political movement, if you are trying to do a political, if you are trying to take a political position, just name your position. Like, for example, I'm going to do it with both of these. When it comes to gun control, I want to increase gun control for proper public safety. You don't have to say, I want to do gun control because I believe that there's going to be more violence against women from men. That's the first one's a lot stronger than the second one, because the first one's more easily applicable, but also the second one's just very. The second one's very wishy-washy in my opinion, and I feel like that is what the "it's a men's problem" tweet does. I feel like it makes gun violence very wishy-washy, especially because there's a lot of gun violence against men. And there's a lot of gun violence perpetrated by women. Like, it exists, so why try to gender the solution when the answer is just focus on the guns? Oh, and when it comes to, reproductive healthcare rights, you can say, I am for the protection of reproductive and healthcare rights because I believe that everyone deserves the right to have a say in their own reproductive health, to take the procedures that they need for their reproductive health, and to have the records of those procedures kept private and kept sealed. You don't need to say, oh, I'm for reproductive health care rights because I have a uterus, and anyone who doesn't have a uterus shouldn't have an opinion on this. For reasons I said earlier. But, I've ranted for 14 minutes now. Have a good day. This has been your low-budget video essay by Mercury. Please like for more. Maybe I'll do some research. Actually, I am doing research for one, but, you'll see me soon again. Bye.